Evening. My name is Jenna Birch, and I am the Director of Alumni Relations at Westchester University. Thank you for joining us for the WCU 150 History and Heritage Exhibition Lecture and Tour Series. Before we begin, I would like to let everyone know that our next lecture and tour will focus on the LGBTQIA+ experience at WCU. Please save the date for Wednesday, February 16th at 7:30 p.m. and register online at wcualumni.org. You can also find the complete list of upcoming lectures on the Alumni Association website and recordings of previous events. Please remain on mute until the end of this presentation, at which time you will be invited to provide feedback and questions related to the subject. For the best experience, we recommend having your viewing screen set to speaker, which will allow you to view the presentation in the largest format. This can be found on the top right-hand corner of your screen. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce Museum Director Michael D. Giovine and our guest speaker, Dean Scott Heinerichs.
Hi, everyone. Are you Michael D. Giovine or Mike? What's going on?
Not the last time I checked.
All right, I'm Michael D. Giovine. I'm the director of the Museum of Anthropology and Archaeology. I'm also an associate professor of anthropology here at Westchester, and also the director of the Museum Studies program. I'm really delighted to have once again another one of these thematic tours and lecture series. We're joined again with one of the key co-curators, the student co-curators of this exhibition, WCU 150. Just a word about the exhibition before we throw it over to Scott Heinerichs. The museum exhibitions is the capstone kind of course that undergraduate students in the Museum Studies program do as kind of the final capstone for their class. This year was the sesquicentennial of Westchester University, and they did a really wonderful job, I think, in curating a very comprehensive exhibition that takes us all the way through from our beginnings as a normal school in 1871, all the way through the Roaring '20s for Westchester State Teachers College, the '80s, the turbulent years of Westchester State College, and then of course 83 onwards as Westchester University, the largest of the fully funded public liberal arts universities in the Apache State, Pennsylvania system. Really delighted that you could be here to kind of take a look at this. If you're unable to come to campus, we're doing this obviously for you, but also you can go and visit our virtual exhibition. It's a 3D kind of Google Maps type of exhibition where you can kind of take a look, an in-depth look at all of these exhibits in the exhibition, and Jenna will put that on the screen. And of course, if you have any questions or you want to organize a visit here, you can always write museum@wcupa.edu. Just a word about the exhibition. You know, when the students had to kind of figure out what they wanted to do and how they wanted to present such a rich collection of artifacts and a rich 150-year history of a lot of transformations that happened, we kind of settled on, first of all, doing a timeline, because everybody seems to like the timeline idea, right? To trace yourself through. And in fact, yeah, you know that we've been, you know, we do visitor studies and we see people kind of gravitating, you know, if you graduated in the 70s or checking that out in the 80s, 90s, or looking at that. But we also then do deep dives into several areas that roughly correspond to race, diversity, inclusion, and you were really integral in curating those sections. Student life and student culture, and that includes things like military, clubs, Greek life, and of course sports. And then we see in the middle here that we're standing by the scholarship and research. And we do have some health sciences artifacts in there as well. And so what we're going to do today, it's a little different from some of the other experiences that we've had on these tours, is that I'm going to kick it over to Dean Heinerichs, who's going to give you a really cool, in-depth, behind-the-scenes look at the new SECC building, and in particular the immersive labs. And we'll go back and forth a little bit, and we're going to be talking here. We're going to be highlighting the different eras of the university and how it relates to sports and health sciences, and then going back and forth as Dean Heinerichs takes you through some of the really cool rooms there. So without further ado, let me pass it over to Dean Scott Heinerichs of the College of Health Sciences.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael, and thank you to you and the students for putting that exhibition together. It's wonderfully done, and we're fortunate to have it. Welcome, everybody. I am standing in what we have called the Immersive Learning Center in the new SECC building on campus. The Immersive Learning Center is a wonderful space that you'll get a chance to see tonight that many of our health science programs use throughout the college, but also other programs throughout the whole university can use these spaces like social work, counseling, our PsyD programs. Before I get started on showing you the spaces, I'd like to talk a little bit about the history of the health sciences. And as you know, Westchester started as a health and physical education teacher preparation school, and that's primarily what it was known for. So the College of Health Sciences really started there in health and physical education. And many of the other departments that now exist in our college, like the Department of Athletic Training, the Department of Health, the Department of Nutrition, the Department of Communication Sciences and Disorders, the Department of Nursing, and the Department of Kinesiology, all kind of morphed from the beginning out of health and physical education. And we now find ourselves as a college preparing professionals to enter healthcare programs, as well as preparing health and physical education teachers, okay? So I think Michael's gonna talk a little bit about some of the history of some of the things that have gone on in health sciences. But before I throw it back to him, we're gonna go to our first stop in the ILC, the Immersive Learning Center, which is our patient assessment lab. So here we are in our patient assessment lab. And our patient assessment lab is a wonderful space that really allows our nursing students, our physician assistant students, which we just started last year, and any students who need to practice skills such as, like they're doing here, an NG tube insertion. So our students need to know how to do these skills, or blood draws, or IV insertions. We need to make sure they are proficient in these skills before they go out and practice in the field. So that's what can happen in this wonderful space called our patient assessment lab. And you can see we have about 6 beds on each side. And then in the center of the room, we have a television so that we can teach if we need to teach from the television, as well as practically instruct hands-on activities with our students. So here you see our nursing student with our lab coordinator practicing an NG insertion. So this is our patient assessment lab. I will throw it back over to Michael.
Great, thanks. I'm going to pass this over to Aaron. He's really going to be giving us the history. He's a history major and a museum studies minor. But yeah, we're going to build off of what you just talked about, Scott, in terms of our origins as a normal school. So what about the normal school that makes it, so interesting?
Well, it started as a school with one purpose: to teach teachers how to teach. For our first couple of years, that really meant elementary school, middle school teachers. In 1890, we started our program for physical training, which eventually morphed into the College of Health Sciences. Our first directors, hired jointly, were Clyde and Ella Ehringer, and shortly after their hiring, they commissioned the building of a brand new campus gym. Not the one named after them today. That was built in 1931. But this old gym was the first gym in the US with an indoor track. It also had a bowling alley.
I think we got it there.
And as you can see to the right up there, that is a uniform from the State Teachers College era. Obviously in 1890, the uniforms were even more conservative for the ladies than that. Now below this, what we have is the desk of the man who hired them, Principal George Morris Phillips. He was our 4th principal, beloved by all who served under him. He brought expansion to the campus academically, physically as well. Why I'm talking about him is that he also brought many guest lecturers to the campus, such as Frederick Douglass. Now, this doesn't entirely relate to health sciences, but I just wanted to mention it because yesterday was the 126th anniversary of Douglass's talk on campus.
Right, it was a watershed event. It was his last public speech before he passed away on February 20th. And, something that we're really proud of. And this is his 4th autobiography, I believe, and his 3rd autobiography that was signed by him. Yeah.
Yes. Also during the normal school era, we set up an infirmary for the treating of infectious diseases. Now we have, people that specialize in this. But back then we had a single nurse running this. The school closed about 15 times in these early years for diseases such as smallpox, typhoid, typhus, not the Spanish flu, interestingly enough, although the rest of the town did. Finally, in the normal school era, we have one of the oldest institutional speech clinics in the US, established by Professor Elizabeth Tyson in 1923. Her brother was hearing impaired, and although she was an English teacher, she saw an opportunity to really advocate for this cause. And as many of you may know, that has evolved into the Department of Communication and Speech Disorders.
She was a pretty interesting person because she was an alum of Westchester, and she went, I think to NYU, and then she came back. She actually taught as an elementary school teacher before kind of coming in and being a professor here. But what I liked about, and again, this gets into the State Teachers College era a little bit later, but as she developed this, she was one of the first, I think we were one of the first programs to say for K through 8 education, we need to be teaching speech, kind of pathology, teaching speech. So it really was a very she was an interesting person. She lived a really long time too, because she was born in the 1800s. I think she passed away in 91 or something. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So that's all we have for the normal school. So Dr. Heinerichs, I'm going to kick it back over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you brought up Professor Tyson, and those of you alumni maybe lived in Tyson Hall, right? And, just as we talked about, the College of Health Sciences has evolved. The Speech and Communication Sciences and Disorders Department actually started in the College of Arts and Humanities and then found its way in health sciences. So similar, the Department of Nursing found itself in the College of Education and eventually found its way in the College of Health Sciences. So we are now standing in a very critical space for our students' learning, and that is the control room. So as I said, this immersive learning space allows our students to apply their knowledge, skills, and abilities on simulated mannequins or real life actors, but we need to place them in a position where they feel that authentic experience. And this control room allows the faculty member to sit back here and look through a one-way mirror and help the student as they work through the simulation, okay, and evaluate them as they work through the simulation. So this is Christy Hunt. She is our Immersive Learning Center manager, and she does everything down here from a technical standpoint, so we're happy to have her. But this is a very critical space. It has 4 windows in here, and we have 4 high-fidelity mannequin rooms, and faculty can be looking at any high-fidelity mannequin room. So let me show you what a high-fidelity mannequin room is. So follow me. So this is one of our high fidelity mannequin rooms, okay? They look like a hospital room, okay, that you would see in a hospital. And here is where we can simulate some life-threatening conditions so our students get exposure to that. Say like a blood pressure drop or a lung puncture dysfunction or heart issues, right? Our students may not have the opportunity to do that in clinical, but we need to make sure they are before they get out into the field. So a lot of our programs use this space, okay? But I'm gonna show you right here, we have a nursing student and we have a respiratory therapy student, okay? And we're gonna show you what can happen with this high fidelity mannequin. So real quickly, I'll take it away to them.
Hi, Gabby. How are you doing today? Is it getting any easier for you to breathe?
Oh, it's still so hard. I don't feel much better yet.
Well, it'll take a few minutes for the medication we gave you to set in. But I see that your oxygen level is looking a little low, so we're going to bump that up for you.
I feel like I can get a breath again.
So that's just a short way that from the control room, we can speak into the mannequin to give our students that experience, okay? And I want to share this with you. Professor Brian Keller, who leads our respiratory care program in partnership with Mainline Health, brought this over today. This right here it looks like a dinosaur, but Brian said he used it when he was in school, which he's about my age, so it's not that old. It's only about 20 years ago, but this is how they delivered oxygen to patients before they had nasal cannulas. They would come in with a tent, and within the tent, they would put these tubes in, and they would look at the meter, and 20% is appropriate oxygen, and they would deliver any more oxygen that they needed in order to care for patients. So just in 25 years, we've come a long way, and our students are really benefiting from it. I'll throw it back over to Michael.
That's really an interesting, artifact there. I love the one-way mirror too. I think we should have some of our anthropology and sociology students learn how to do focus groups through that one-way mirror as well. We should get one installed in our old library too. Yeah. So what are we at? We're at the State Teachers College era now, huh?
Yes, of course. And this was the era where we had a lot more sports teams and a lot more competitive sports teams. And coaches began to choose some of their favorite students to unofficially serve as athletic trainers. This is around the 40s, late 40s, early 50s. And mostly they were performing first aid on the sidelines, as well as a few specialty procedures such as ankle wrapping, dependent on the sport. This is all detailed in this really comprehensive book on athletic training by one of its first professors, Phil Donnelly. As you can see here, that's a really thick book on his 45 years of experience and before, and it really shows how far the program has come at Westchester. Also in the State Teachers College era, while we have had countless students serve with professional teams as athletic trainers, I just want to highlight perhaps one of our most impressive graduates in 1960, a physical education major, Gertie Dunn, served on 3 professional sports teams. She played professional baseball. She played with the U.S. lacrosse team and U.S. field hockey team, and she ended up as a Hall of Famer in 3 different sports,
Awesome.
Which is incredible.
That's incredible. But I don't think, was she able to even be an athletic trainer? Because I thought he was choosing only guys,
Right.
right, or something.
Yes. A lot of the favoritism, of course, male coaches, male sports. All of the early students listed in this book are males.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting because I think he talks about how he did, he had to do, I think, field hockey or something one time, and he didn't even realize, at first they never had the same kind of services as the football team and everything else because they didn't have any athletic trainers to help them out. He said, "Oh, we didn't even think about whether or not they would get injuries as well." So I think in this period we were starting to develop, obviously, into more comprehensive services, and I think that was a really eye-opening experience back then in the 60s, right, in late 60s. So yeah, Scott, where are you right now?
Great, thanks, Michael. So right now we have made our way to our records keeping station. And before I say that, I just want to remember to say this. Next year, speaking of Elizabeth Tyson, we celebrate, I believe it's 120 years of speech and hearing at Westchester University. And last year, we just celebrated 50 years of athletic training education. So a couple milestones. I know the speech and hearing communication sciences disorders is planning a big event for that next year. But right now, we are standing at the record station. So one of the things that we have to ensure our students have the ability to do is interact with other healthcare providers to improve patient outcomes. And this space in the Immersive Learning Center can be recorded, and it can allow our students the ability to interact and discuss a case. So right here behind me, what I have is I have a nutrition student, like that would be a dietitian, speaking with an exercise science student, a cardiac rehabilitation specialist, speaking to a nurse, okay? And they're talking about a patient case, determining, okay, what's going on with the cardiac rehabilitation that they're doing? Is it appropriate? How is their diet? How is the diet progressing with the illness or injury that the individual is suffering from? So we can now simulate that in this space so that our students, when they get out in the real world, know that they should be reaching out to the nutritionist, or the respiratory therapist can reach out to the speech language pathologist. And this space really allows us to create opportunities for our students to engage with others and to improve patient outcomes. So that is the record keeping station. I'll throw it back over to you, Michael.
Great. All right, so where are we now? We're at the Westchester State College era.
That is correct. And this was when Russell Sturzenbecker really started putting his vision into what would ultimately become the College of Health Sciences in 1979. So Sturzenbecker was early on very influential in getting the U.S. women's Olympic gymnastics teams, as well as the Soviet Union men and women's gymnastics teams to compete and perform at Westchester State College in 1961. Here we have a poster advertising not that, but actually the US Olympic teams training here and then going on tour through the Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia, and Poland. This was a year of international gymnastics, as we also had visitors from Japan and Finland. And, you know, to commemorate all this hard work, the Sturzenbecker Health Sciences Center was constructed as the first building on South Campus in 1970. 1970 was, as far as we can track, when the first athletic training major, or as we would call it that, athletic training, was offered. Here is one of the early jackets worn by them. National Athletic Trainers Association, customized Westchester State. So this would have been worn by someone helping out one of these sports teams.
It's not purple. We didn't have an official color actually of the university back then. And in fact, in the 80s, I think the color was green. We had a green with the Phillips and a tree in the middle. So it was only really later in the Westchester University era, like in the 90s, that we actually solidified our brand, our color. The other thing I did want to mention, the reason why, of course, we all of a sudden we have athletic training programs and speech pathology and all of these new departments is, of course, in the 60s to 83, we became not a state teachers college anymore, but a liberal arts college. So that's a really important distinction. As a liberal arts college, which was really a transitional period. I think they always knew that we were transitioning into a university. You know, these colleges needed to have diverse departments, not just education departments. And so that afforded the ability to really kind of grow and develop. And we had the first women gender studies, very early one in the country. You know, these kinds of very different types of departments within that to kind of diversify the majors. So yeah, so that's why I think, you know, we got all the health sciences start to come up as distinct departments at that time. So Scott, you're hanging outside a doorway. Is that what you're doing? You want to go home?
Hanging out in the hallway. Yep. Yeah, so thanks, Michael. And thanks to that jacket is Paula Tarosi. She's an alum and she is a full professor at Duquesne University. So thanks for donating that jacket, Paula. Okay, so we are still in the Immersive Learning Center and we talked about high fidelity mannequins. So for life-threatening types of situations, we need to prepare our students. We also need to prepare our students to interact with live patients. And sometimes they might not get the experience to interact with a live patient, maybe with a psychosocial disorder or some type of mental health and well-being issue. But we need to make sure, whether they're a nurse, an athletic trainer, a speech pathologist, a respiratory therapist, exercise scientist, that they have that experience. So that's where this space comes in. And this is our exam rooms. And alums, listen, we will be looking for you because we need patient actors because not everyone is 18 to 22. So I'll show you the patient actor break room that we will be looking to bring people in to serve the role of an actor, and you'll be given a script. So that's what this is mimicking right here. So the student goes to the exam room and you can see on this door, there's a door sign. The door sign allows the student to understand what they're going to encounter to get them ready for the experience. So this is Sarah, she's an athletic training major, and this is an example of how that program uses this type of space. So you can see here that Sarah then goes into her patient evaluation, okay? And we have 4 rooms that look just like this and allows us to watch students from the control room. We can give feedback to the actor if something's going a little bit awry. And then we can talk with the student about it after. So this is our patient exam room, and Michael, I'll throw it back to you.
Cool. So, you know, we'll split this into 2 parts, Scott. So if you, we'll do part of the university now, and then we'll kick it to you, and then maybe, you know, you can finish it up if you have more space. Yeah, Aaron. So we're in the Westchester University era. Right? What happened then?
There was a lot more going on, as you can imagine. In 1987, Dr. Lepore started our first adaptive physical education program for community youth ages 5 to 21 for students with physical disabilities. This included gym and pool activities. And in 2006, she helped bring Camp Abilities PA to Westchester. And that was a sort of Olympic Games. You know, you had swimming and track and field. This was for visually impaired youth, and that was awesome to see. In terms of academics, we have here the robes worn by some of the first graduates of our Doctorate of Nursing Practices program. This was our first doctoral program offered in 2013, and we had our first graduates in December of 2016.
Right. We thank the foundation for getting us this great regalia as well. We have also, just while we're talking about nursing, and then we'll kick it back to Scott. We do have one of the first, a loan of one of the early nurses' caps, as well as a photo of the alum who loaned it as well. So this was in 1981, right?
One of the first classes, not quite the first. But yeah, you can see how their outfit has changed a little bit since then.
Yeah. All right, Scott, where are you inside? Yeah.
Good. Great, thanks. Yeah, and you know, the purple scrubs you saw were our nursing students, and then also our respiratory therapy students now wear the purple scrubs. And I said to my faculty and our students, you know, purple scrubs mean more than just Westchester University. You know, that's how you always spot a Westchester University student, but they mean someone who is ready and willing to engage in frontline work, which our students have been able to do over this pandemic. And we're one of the few schools across the Mid-Atlantic from a nursing education standpoint that kept our students out at clinical and kept them safe, but kept them out at clinical because we know it was that important. So I am standing in the space that looks like a dining room, but this is our patient break room. And I thought I'd just share this with you because when we were designing this space, like I said, we needed patient actors. And so we need a space for the patient actors if they're going to be here all day. So I'm sharing this with you so that when you come in, you can see that we will have food for you and you can hang out and then you'll go and play your role. There's a separate entrance for our patient actors to come in this space so that the students don't see the patient actors, so they really feel as authentic as possible. We have collaborated with our theater department where we offer a general education course that allows students to learn the roles of patients and learn theater. And then they come to this space and play out those roles for simulations that we need for our students. So that's another thing that we're doing in collaboration with another college across within the university. And Michael, I'll throw it back to you and then we'll go to the home healthcare suite.
Great. Sorry, that's really great. Thanks. Thanks so much. So Aaron, you're standing between the in the research and scholarship cases. What are we seeing here?
That's correct. So beyond this nurse's hat here, we have a couple passports and a spread of international bills. This goes to symbolize how, as a university, we were internationalizing, not only opening programs with a lot of different universities. For example, we had our first exchange program in 1986 with China. We just started one in 2016 with universities in Mumbai, India. But also, we're really focusing on transcultural and global health. We have a lot of professors that specialize in this. I've taken some great classes with them. And that's really great to see this collaboration and Westchester really becoming a global university.
Right. You know, we had, there are also a lot of study abroad programs that focus on health. I mean, nutrition itself has, usually does a study abroad program. I think the transcultural health professor, I know she was in Uganda and Rwanda when we were planning the museum exhibit on Rwanda. She brought back a lot of health brochures from East Africa, which was really great. And you know, and I actually partner with nutrition professor Davidson to not only teach a course on sustainable food systems, which is cross-listed with anthropology, but also do a field school, an ethnographic field school in Perugia on sustainable food and nutrition. We bring Italian nutrition students to speak to predominantly, a lot of them are health science students that go on the trip. So definitely a lot of opportunities for internationalization.
Absolutely.
We're going to end, speaking of nutrition, right? Let me see if I can bring this around because unfortunately I'm on a laptop here. But
Yeah, so on the other side of the research space here,
there
a little higher.
you go.
We have one of our newest programs, the Ramp Chef program, started in 2019. And it is to help developmentally disabled students learn how to cook and be chefs. And, you know, a lot of our nutrition professors are involved in that. They say these students do a great job, and it really is to show how we're helping, you know, the farther community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just to bring it back up to the present day, in spring 2020, we had a big ceremony for the final beam on the Science and Engineering Center being put into place, which happens to be the building that Dr. Heinerichs is in right now.
There you go. You finished that. Is that the last one on the timeline? Is that it?
I believe so.
Well, that's great. All right. Now where are you right now, Scott?
So I am in our home healthcare suite. Okay, so we have one more stop, and then we're going to talk about the debriefing room. But thanks so much for talking about the Ram Chefs. It's an unbelievable program that Dr. Jeannie Subak has started, and you know some of the other spaces in this building that you won't get a chance to see tonight, but I really encourage you to come by and see is our food and nutrition lab. It really looks like Top Chef right here in Westchester. And then we have a beautiful environmental health lab. And then also in this building is within the College of Science and Mathematics, our biomedical engineering majors and physics majors. So we have beautiful lab spaces. But we are standing in the home healthcare suite, and this suite could be used for a variety of majors. We have adaptive physical education. We can do some adaptive PE work within our students and our teacher candidates in this space. We can do nutrition counseling. We can do nursing, home care. But right here, I have two speech and language pathology majors, and they are going through using an alternative and augmentative communication device. So this is a student and their patient. So this is great. That type of device can help someone who can't communicate use this device to say they want to go to the bathroom. We have a bathroom actually in this space. We have a bedroom. We have a living room. We have a fully functioning washer dryer, and we have a fully functioning kitchen. So if you think about any of our programs, even outside of our college, we can do a lot in here because it looks like an apartment. And this is a great activity right here where you can bring students or patients in and then have them use the device and then go to the area of the home rather than just using a clinic room. And Michael, no, I do not spend the night in here, but if you'd like to, I can rent the space out to you.
Hey, I would like the Top Chef kitchen though. I love cooking, so I think, you know,
Yeah.
I'd like to do that.
So the last space we're going to go is right across the hall here. And this actually, I mean, it looks like the magic happens out there, and it does, but the magic really happens in here. And this is our debriefing rooms. And this can also be used for our public health program if we're going to do a community advocacy project and present to the community members. We can do that in here, and the faculty can be sitting in the control room. Okay, so you can use this for business management. But this is really made to debrief. And if you look in the literature, the best part of simulation is reflection and having students go through the experience to see what they learned, to point out areas that can be improved upon. So all of this space has this platform software that allows us to video record from anywhere. I showed you the control room, but a faculty can be in their office and recording a simulation and talking to students. But this is an example of debriefing. So you can bring up the simulation right on this screen, and we can put markers on different areas that we think are well done or could be improved upon, so that we can really have that experience with our students and have them reflect and collaborate with each other. And the other beautiful thing that you'll see when you go in this building is if you see glossy walls, these are all writable surfaces. So you can write on here and you can do whatever. So if you're walking through the SECC, I saw a beautiful diagram of the heart and all the atrial valves and ventricles. And so you'll see that all throughout this building too, and a lot of the physics and biomedical engineering. students are putting a lot of good equations up there. So that is a tour of the immersive learning space and how the programs in the College of Health Sciences and throughout the university can use this cutting edge technology in order to enhance patient outcomes and prepare our students to enter the real world. So I'll throw it back to you, Michael, for any questions or comments.
That's so cool. I have a question for you. So can you tell us the process, how long it took to kind of design and plan the SECC, and how much input you had as one of the two deans that, you know, have programs in there?
Sure, yeah. So I'm in my 5th year as the dean, and when I first started, the initial plans and the initial scope was kind of outfitted and done, but this space itself wasn't fully planned out, and we went to several universities in the Mid-Atlantic. We were up at NYU, and then we went over to New Jersey, and then down to Maryland, and looked at other spaces. And so that's really been exciting for me to kind of see it from the ground up. And I really have to say, this space rivals any institution in the Mid-Atlantic that I've seen. It's wonderful. So yeah, I've been at the forefront of the planning, but the department chairs, the faculty of the departments that are in here, were really the champions. They were the ones that put their blueprint and footprint on what needed to be in here, and I just helped them facilitate their great ideas.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it really was really cool space to go and see. I said when I first got down there, I said, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm in a hospital here. You know, it's not the best thing when we're in this pandemic, you know, to feel, but absolutely it was. I mean, it's really lifelike, really realistic. I'm sure it's a great benefit.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. And we're just getting started. You know, the last semester was our first semester fully open, and I think word's going to get out. More programs are going to be able to use it and know about it, and faculty are going to learn how to engage in simulation to benefit the students. So it's exciting.
And then, of course, we're going to hopefully feature the main ribbon cutting on our big weekend, the showcase weekend, right? The Friday, the 22nd of April. Right now is when it's planned, right? Am I correct? I think.
I believe that is the plan. Yes, for alumni weekend, hopefully.
So everyone, we got, you know, a 3-month ahead of time preview here or something. Like 3 months, 2 months, something. I don't know.
Something like that.
I don't even know I don't know what year it is. So it's. So do we have questions or comments? Anything in the chat?
Thank you so much. It was excellent, just excellent. I so enjoyed it. It's very impressive, and congratulations to everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, there was a comment. It's a brilliant idea to collaborate with theater. I think that's really, really wonderful to have all the collaboration, you know, that cuts across colleges, right? So just great.
That idea, Chris Thomas, nursing faculty member, and myself went down to University of Delaware. They started a program down at University of Delaware. We're trying to mirror it. And the Department of Theater and Charlie Del Marcel and Harvey Giovine, the department chair, and Jen Bacon have been fully on board. And it's a great way for our students to get that arts general education and learn how to be empathetic from a patient point of view.
Right. You know, I mean, one of the most rewarding things that I do personally, I mean, it's a little off topic, but you know, is to have that collaborative co-teaching experience with nutrition. I think it's really rewarding for me to be able to kind of teach the anthropological, you know, kind of social scientific perspective. And Tricia just brings so much of the clinical background to the classes as well. I think it's just really rewarding to have that interdisciplinary focus. You know.
I'd be remiss to say I want to thank the students for showing up tonight. And we have all female students here. So we do have males in these programs, but thank you to all the students for helping and assisting tonight. Some of them, this was their first time in this space, but they did a wonderful job. And we can't say enough about our students, so thanks.
Very good. And thank you too to Julia Zom. She's another one of our co-curators, and she'll actually be doing the tours, the next 2 tours on gender and sexuality this month. And she's behind the camera right now with Scott. So yeah, there's her hand. I think somebody has their hand up, Karen.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Cofault. I am an alumni of Westchester, the respiratory care program, and I'm partnered and colleagues with Brian Keller. Thank you very much for inviting me tonight. My mind is blown at how Westchester has evolved since 1997 when I left. You know, I don't know that Tyson Hall has evolved that much, but everywhere else has. And what a great program. And just thank you for everything that you're doing to support future healthcare providers. Because as you know, we are in a grave state in our country, in our region, and anything that we can do to encourage young adults and students to go into these fields, certainly you have our support, and thank you, everyone. This was wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Karen, your ears must have been ringing. I think I was talking to Brian Keller today about you.
Oh, okay, great.
Thanks,
Yes.
Thanks so much for.
Hopefully we meet soon. Thank you.
There was a question, Scott, can only alums be patient actors?
Absolutely not. Anyone can be a patient actor. And more to come on that over the next several months on how we're going to roll that out. But we will be looking for community members. We'll be looking for alums. We will feed you. I don't have a very large budget yet, unless we get a big donor. But we will feed you, and it's great to interact with students. It keeps you young.
That's awesome.
I just wanted to jump in and say that on behalf of the Westchester University Foundation, that the SECC and the progress that's been made on campus that Karen alluded to over the past couple of years are truly because of the investment of our community partners and our alumni. And the 150 years of success would not be possible without our alumni like you. So thank you so much for being a part of tonight and continuing to invest in outstanding programs like our health sciences and the building like the SECC. So just wanted to say that on behalf of the foundation, you truly are the best asset that the university has.
Michael, thank you again for taking all the time that you've been doing throughout tonight and all the nights to put this together. It's very nice.
No, thanks. This was great. And I think, you know, it was really just, I love the way that that we had the students involved on both ends, you know, and I think that was really great. So I know you put a lot of planning in just to highlight this. And it really was great. So thank you very much as well. Are there any other questions or comments? Well, Jenna, you want to take it away?
Sure. If there's no further questions, then I say we conclude the event and everyone have a great night. And we hope to see you on the 16th for the next lecture and tour.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Bye, thank you.